Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, reach out to me directly, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here on our channel. Reach out to me directly at tmosso at thewatchbox.com. And today we're discussing a discontinued golden oldie, rose golden oldie that is, from FP Journe of Geneva. Built approximately 2002, this is the FP Journe Octa Automatique Réserve de Marche. 38mm in rose gold with white gold dial. The timepiece features a brass movement as well as a number of vintage FP Journe traits that make it endearing and collectible. 38mm in diameter, that's our first discontinued factor as they no longer make that case size. This also discontinued model is 10.2mm thick and 44.7mm lug-to-lug with a 20mm spacing between the lugs. Throwing it on my 16cm circumference wrist, this much-loved case size wears well. It's a unisex option and compatible with a wrist as small as 13cm in circumference. It's also perfect for those who prefer discretion in their colored gold watches or have a taste for traditional sizing. The strap itself, as you can see, is an FP Journe factory strap. We're going to talk a little bit about the hardware and the software. Alligator leather on the top. It's a sort of honey brown, large rectangular scale, semi-gloss. You can see a monotone stitch, a folded edge, small round scale on the bottom. The purpose of that is to make the strap last longer. A bit more expensive, yes, but worthwhile on a watch this grand. You can see pull tab spring bars that allow you to use your fingernail to pop the strap off the case, and there's a matching rose gold pin buckle. You'll also note the use of curved spring bars to allow the strap a full range of motion, even though the lugs are drilled relatively close to the case. The case band is familiar to FP Journe connoisseurs. One shape that Journe uses on many dress watches with blended Calatrava style lugs, all of high polish. The mid case is defined by the overlapping lip of the bezel in the case back. Rolling around the crown, you can see it's the signature FP Journe double dimple knurled profile with a domed bezel, all of high polish. Rolling over to the dial, and this is where I have to call out the condition of the watch, because a lot of these older Journe watches use dial varnish that didn't age well, or they've been subject to incompetent watchmaking, and thus the dial side bolts or the black polished steel bezel winds up being scratched by watchmakers who are not up to the task. There's sometimes also a little bit of discoloration around the dials from water and moisture intrusion, so I always look at these early Journes and I check the dial first, because this is where you tend to see evidence of bad watchmaking and a timepiece that has not aged well, and this watch has none of those hallmarks of neglect. You can see that the dial is beautifully rendered. You have the 120-hour power reserve, though in truth the movement will run for almost 7 days. The dial side bolts, black polished and immaculate, are a signature of FP Journe style, first coined in the 1990s on his first eponymous named wristwatches. Today the style is copied by everyone, but Journe was first with the dial side bolts. You've got a double-digit date that has a quick set, and then you've got a silvered brass subdial with the hours, minutes, and the seconds. You have those lovely tapered Journe blue biomorphic hands. The stainless steel inner bezel that surrounds the time is black polished. It too has black polished screws holding it in place, and all of this is on a media blasted white gold dial base. Roll it over, you can see this is the caliber 1300 in its original form. And the thing about the 1300, and you can see because I'm kind of shaking it around, is that it's a bidirectional winder in its original form. Some of these are converted to unidirectional when they go back for service, but the most original and intact caliber 1300s retain both the brass movement that's rhodium plated for that silver tone and the bidirectional winding that was used in these movements right up until 2007. So another feature that's worth calling out is that this case features a 02 number on it, which is the date the case was made, or the year the case was made, and that usually approximates the age of the watch. On Journe watches built through about mid-2005, you'll have that case back year stamp. You'll also have two sets of hallmarks, both French and Swiss, as these cases were built by Eleanor. That's the Eleanor maker's mark, that little diamond, and that was a factory outside of Paris that produced FP Journe watch cases from his first in 1983 right up through 2008. It was actually a supplier to his wristwatch concern as well. He bought the company, moved it to Geneva as Boîtier de Genève. Today it's his case company, but these older cases do feature the French and Swiss hallmarks. Now the movement, which is adjusted in a chronometer style 5 positions, is nicely executed with a 22-karat barleycorn guilloche cut winding mass, circular Côte de Genève across the bridges, and you can see engine turning on the base plate with bevels on the edge of the bridges, though admittedly mostly mechanically applied, as is Journe's custom, with black polished screw heads. It beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, and all of this is 30 meters water resistant. The timepiece uses a very large balance to make it more resilient in the face of bumps, concussions, and vibrations that could induce timing deviation in watches with smaller balanced structures. This timepiece is highly collectible, as after mid-2004, FP Journe discontinued the brass movements in favor of gold, which, while more valuable as a commodity, is less valuable in as much as there are more of those watches in circulation. This watch is the best of everything. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.